Get ready to dive into something you never imagined, because today you won't just watch a video, you'll live an adventure. We are Trivia Clips. Let's go. 10 facts that will change your perception of Hollywood. 1. The power of major studios and the lack of diversity in stories. Hollywood has historically been dominated by a small number of large film studios that control the majority of film production and distribution worldwide. Among these giants are names like Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal Pictures, Paramount, and 20th Century Fox, now part of Disney. Although there are many talented filmmakers and creators in the industry, most of the films that make it to theaters are filtered through the commercial interests of these media conglomerates. The phenomenon of blockbusters, high-budget films, and massive franchises like those of Marvel, Star Wars, and other shared universes has led to a saturation of the market with similar and predictable stories. This doesn't mean there isn't space for creativity, but the centralization of power in a few studios has created a sort of monopoly. The high-budget, commercially successful films are generally the ones most likely to make it to the big screen. Riskier films, or those dealing with deep or less commercial themes, are often relegated to festivals or more limited distribution. This not only reduces the variety of stories the audience has the chance to see, but also makes cinema a much more homogeneous industry. The lack of diversity in narratives limits the representation of cultures, genders, and perspectives that could genuinely enrich the cinematic offering. 2. The manipulation of public image and the cult of celebrity Hollywood is a factory of images. Often, movie stars are not merely artists, but products carefully crafted and managed by a public relations team. The image that actors and actresses project to the public is meticulously built throughout their careers, sometimes vastly different from the person they truly are in private life. Entertainment magazines, TV shows, and social media contribute to this process, creating an aura of perfection around celebrities. However, behind that facade, many of the people we see on screen struggle with the pressure of maintaining that perfect image, which can have negative consequences on their mental health and well-being. This process of creating idols leads to a disconnection between the real person and the public figure. Often, stories about these figures focus on superficial aspects of their lives, their relationships, physical appearance, or spending habits. In fact, celebrity gossip has cultivated a culture of obsession with the private details of stars' lives, invading their privacy in a way that can be unsustainable and harmful. This leads to many people becoming fascinated with the lifestyle of the famous without understanding the enormous pressure that comes with living under the public eye. Moreover, this has a negative impact on how ordinary people perceive success and happiness, as they often idealize a life that only exists on screen or in magazines. 3. The culture of celebrity and its influence on social behavior. Hollywood has not only produced films, but also created a global culture centered on the figure of the celebrity. Over the last few decades, movie, music, and TV stars have gained a level of influence that goes beyond their professional careers, affecting how people live, shop, and behave. In the digital age, social media has amplified this phenomenon, giving celebrities a direct platform to connect with their followers. This has led to celebrities being seen as role models in various aspects, from fashion to political and social decisions. However, this power has its downsides. The celebritization of public figures can distort important issues, as people tend to listen more to a celebrity than to an expert when it comes to health, politics, or culture. Marketing campaigns that often link brands with movie stars have successfully associated products with luxurious lifestyles, creating a symbiotic relationship between consumption and admiration for the famous. This trend not only affects the industry, but also the way the public perceives the real world. People tend to aspire to live like celebrities, without realizing the sacrifices they make to maintain that image. 4. Representation in Hollywood, an ongoing struggle. Representation has been a hot topic in Hollywood for years. While there have been advances, especially with films like Black Panther, which was a milestone for the representation of Black people, the reality is that minorities, women, and LGBTQ+ communities still face significant challenges in obtaining lead roles, or even being part of the creative processes behind the scenes. Historically, Hollywood has favored white actors and characters, often relegating minorities to stereotypical and secondary roles. For example, films starring women tend to have less visibility, especially if they aren't in genres like romantic comedy or drama. In recent years, some studios have started to break this pattern by producing films with strong female characters or diverse representations of gender identity and sexual orientation. However, there is still a struggle to change the narrative on screen and in the industry in general. Hollywood has had to face growing criticism for the lack of opportunities for actors of color, gender pay gaps, and the lack of directors, writers, and producers from diverse backgrounds. Inclusion, while present in the conversation, remains an ongoing task. 5. Labor exploitation in the backstage of the film industry. While Hollywood is known for its big stars and the enormous budgets of its films, the reality for most people working in the industry is very different. Sound technicians, costume designers, makeup artists, visual effects specialists, and other film workers often face harsh working conditions and low pay. Long working hours are the norm, and job security is a constant concern. Many of those who work behind the scenes don't have permanent contracts and rely on temporary jobs, leaving them vulnerable to the lack of benefits like health insurance or pensions. The desire to be part of an important film project leads many to accept these working conditions, despite the negative consequences they may have on their physical and mental health. Moreover, the industry is dominated by the idea of competition, with newcomers always trying to break in. This creates a toxic environment where workers fear complaining about the conditions for fear of losing opportunities. Strikes and industry work stoppages are a response to these poor conditions, but changes are slow. 6. The casting couch, the dark side of power in Hollywood. One of Hollywood's darkest aspects is the prevalence of sexual exploitation. The term casting couch refers to the practice of demanding sexual favors in exchange for roles in films or TV shows. This practice has been present for decades, and although it became widely discussed following the Harvey Weinstein scandal, it remains a hot topic in the industry. Victims of these abuses are often young or unknown actors who are trying to build their careers and feel they must give in to the demands of the powerful figures in the industry. Allegations of sexual abuse and workplace harassment have come to light in recent years thanks to movements like #MeToo, but the problem remains structural. Often, those who report these behaviors face great resistance and risk losing their careers. While some public figures have been convicted, the victims are often left invisible, as power in Hollywood remains concentrated in the hands of a few, and the dynamics of power still allow these behaviors to persist in the shadows. 7. Hollywood's influence on politics and global culture. Hollywood has not only influenced cinema, but also has a profound impact on politics and global culture. Through its films, the stories told, and the images created, Hollywood has the power to influence how people think about issues such as war, justice, human rights, immigration, and more. Action films and historical dramas, for example, can create an idealized view of history or politics, while documentaries can change public perception on important social issues. Moreover, Hollywood has a complicated relationship with governments in other countries, such as China, which has an expanding film market. Film studios, aiming to ensure their movies are distributed in that lucrative market, often alter their content to comply with strict government regulations in China. This means that, In some cases, films are edited to avoid topics that could be considered sensitive, such as human rights politics or the representation of minorities. This raises questions about freedom of expression and to what extent Hollywood's commercial interests are willing to sacrifice the integrity of stories to access global markets. 8. The obsession with youth and perfect appearance. Hollywood has set beauty standards that are, in many cases, unrealistic and harmful. Movie stars, for the most part, feel pressured to maintain a youthful and perfect appearance to remain profitable at the box office. The film industry has been known for its focus on young actors, while those over 40, especially women, often face difficulties securing important roles. Male actors also face pressures related to their image, but in general, expectations are harsher for women. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us your opinion in the comments.